Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The top stories that we're tracking for you this evening. The market recovers to end Dhanteras at the day's high. The Nifty and the sensex end marginally in the green. The benchmarks marginally underperform. Emerging markets. Rupee hits a record low against the dollar even as crude oil prices ease. The RBI stays away from intervention, probably due to calmer global markets. Palestine claims Israeli forces struck hospitals in Gaza City. Netanyahu says Israel does not seek to occupy Gaza after the war, but bats for the need of a credible force to prevent the re-emergence of a Hamas-type entity. A UN report highlights that Palestine's GDP shrank by 4% in the first month of the war, pushing over 4 lakh people into poverty. Indian car companies could face penalties up to 370 crore rupees for violating emission norms. Car makers question the method of calculating the penalties. The Bureau of Energy Efficiency will meet industry to decide the next course of action. The Enforcement Directorate attaches assets worth 25 crore rupees belonging to Hero Moto Corp MD Pavan Munjal as part of a money laundering probe. This comes a day after the Delhi High Court stayed proceedings against Munjal in a case initiated by the Department of Revenue Intelligence, which formed the basis of the ED investigation. India and America hold the 5th edition of the 2+2 Ministerial Dialogue in New Delhi. Both countries discuss deepening trade partnership and strengthening collaboration in tech and supply chain ecosystems. Air quality improves across the National Capital Region ahead of Diwali thanks to a bout of rainfall. The Supreme Court urges Delhi and adjoining states to crack down on stubble burning. Justice Kaul observes God may have heard the prayers of people and intervened. No thanks to the government. Well, let's kickstart the show with the market action for the day. The markets did recover on Friday, ending Dhanteras at the day's high. The Nifty and the sensex ending mildly in the green. However, the broader markets did outperform the blue chips. Meanwhile, Samvat 2079, which is drawing to a close, has left India's investors richer by 44 lakh crores. Nigel is standing by to wrap up the Samvat to Samvat report card. Nigel.
Well, in terms of one big data point that stood out, if you just take a look at the flows, the SIP flows, normally we start off by talking about the FI flows. But I said this time around, let's talk about the SIP flows because that's been rock solid from April till now itself. That's in this fiscal. We have seen it move from around 13,000 crores all the way to around 16,900 crores odd. So we're asking why the markets are resilient. Well, it's because of you, because the kind of flows that we've seen from all of you. Moving next up to the different asset classes. Now, two global factors have worked for us. One is the cooling off in terms of the dollar index. The second factor is Brent crude prices cooling off. So you like that. Both of them, they result in the Nifty doing quite well. In terms of the MSCI Emerging Market Party, well, we have participated out there, while global indices as well have done quite well. But I'll tell you the rank outperformer this year in terms of asset classes has been gold. That's up close to around 18%. So that's outperformed actually the other asset classes this year. But the big party really has been in the broader markets. The small and the mid-cap stocks, well, they have done very, very well. And the indices itself have given you 30 to around 35% return. So good going out there. But let's tell you about the top Nifty movers first. So let's take the headline index, and a few stocks should come up for you on the screen. You have Tata Motors, Larsen and Toubro, which have given you returns of more than 50%. ONGC, NTPC, as well as Bajaj Auto. All of them frontline Nifty stocks that have done very, very well. On the flip side, a few stocks haven't done very, very well. And a large stock in there is like Infosys. That's been a relative underperformer. That drags the index down a bit. And Adani Enterprises as well as UPL, they have lost their way. But otherwise, in spite of these big losses, well, the bigger boys have done well. And that's why the Nifty is up close to around 10%. Moving to the mid-cap names, well, there's been a big party out there. Some of those rail-related stocks have done well. You have the power financing theme as well that's played out very, very well. And also you have defense and shipbuilding that's done well. And that explains why some of these stocks, they're not satisfied with 20, 30, 50% return. These are up between 200 to around 300% odd. Moving to some of those losers, well, from frontline names, Page has struggled a little bit. Aditya Birla Fashion is down. Gland Pharma, Loris, all of them have seen some bit of pain. But from the broader markets, that's from the small cap names, you have far more stocks that have done very, very well. So you have Suzlon in there that's given you big returns. BSE out of nowhere, that stock has re-rated nearly a 2,000 rupees stock. Apar Industries has continued its beautiful run. Kalyan Jewellers, a re-rating of sort out there. And JBM Auto as well. But there are some losers as well, so some painful points out there. From the broader markets itself, Campus Actbear, well, that's lost its way. We have Deepak Fertilizers, Afas Finances, as well as City Union Bank. So it's been a good move from last Samvat to this Samvat. The Nifty is up close to around 10% approximately, but the big outperformer in terms of asset class has to be gold, which is up close to around 18% odd.
Nigel, many thanks and happy Diwali to you. That's the somewhat to somewhat track record for the market. Onto the currency market, where the Indian rupee touched a fresh low of 83.36 against the dollar today. And this comes despite a fall in crude prices. Lata is standing by now to take us through the reason behind this fall and what we can expect next. Lata.
It is kind of historic because the Reserve Bank appears to have held that 83.30 mark for the dollar-rupee exchange for almost a year now. It was in October 22 that the rupee went to 83.28. After that, every time it comes to that level, the Reserve Bank has been intervening. But today, the only reason why the level was breached is Reserve Bank was not there. There was no intervention. Otherwise, the actual demand for dollars was normal from oil companies and from foreign investors. All these days when, especially in the month of October, when the US yields went to 5%, when the dollar index went to 107, when crude went to 95, the RBI was very active in what you call the non-deliverable forwards market. It's an offshore market, and it was also active in the forwards, Indian forwards market. But it didn't actually sell in the spot dollar market. Now, when you intervene in the NDF market, you actually neutralize the demand for the moment, the speculative demand, but the actual demand just gets deferred. So today, it looks like the Reserve Bank decided to let go. It decided to let go on a non-panic day, on a day when crude is below $80, when the dollar index also is not even 106, it's 105 and change. So on a non-panic day, it decided to let go, it looks like, so that there is no panic attack on the currency and there is a gentle depreciation. The expectation in the market is now that it might even allow a further depreciation. 83.50 is seen as the next level, though there are some traders who believe that 83.75 by the year end can't be ruled out. Quarter one of the calendar 2024, the Jan-March quarter is usually a strong quarter for the rupee. So any depreciation is expected to be largely up until the current year end. But the guess is that it will not go up to 84. Historic day anyways, that 83.30 has been breached.
All right, Lata, many thanks. That's the currency market action for you. Now, Indian car makers could face penalties of up to 370 crore rupees for violating new emission norms. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that car makers have questioned the procedure for calculating these penalties. Parikshit is standing by now with more details. Parikshit, what is the clarity that OEMs are seeking and where do we go from here?
Well, these could be very steep fines for certain OEMs. It ranges from 70 lakhs in some cases, and it goes all the way to 370 crores. And these are some leading car makers, SUV makers in the market. Now, what all these OEMs are saying is that, yes, these penalties have been calculated, but there are discrepancies. Yes, the CAFE 2 norms and the penalties came into effect earlier this year, but at the same time, there are notifications on carbon trading which are yet to be notified. At the same time, the Energy Conservation Act and Indian government rules allow for carbon credit purchase as well. So the companies can offset their carbon emissions by purchasing credits from the market. At the same time, they're saying there is no notification or government rule on the basis of which they can make a payment. No notification or no notice has gone to any company demanding this penalty be paid up, and there is no agency for collection either. So the OEMs, which are about 8 or 9 in number, are likely to talk to the government. There is an internal discussion which is going on among industry players. They're likely to go to the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, make a representation that more time is needed to meet this. Some of them are also saying that the period when this penalty was calculated, that is between April 2022 and March 22, many companies had not launched their electric vehicles. They had not launched new CNG vehicles. Ethanol blending had not started to this extent. So a lot of discrepancies is what the industry is talking about. Let's see what the government says. There is a meeting on this likely to happen towards the end of the month or early December.
All right, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. Now, the Enforcement Directorate has attached the assets worth 25 crore rupees linked to Hero MotoCorp's MD, Pavan Munjal, this in connection with an alleged money laundering probe. The case was filed on the basis of the Department of Revenue Intelligence, which accused Munjal of taking foreign currency out of India illegally. Remember, the matter has been stayed by the Delhi High Court overnight. India's auto sector has reported its highest ever passenger vehicle and three-wheeler sales for the month of October. All three segments reporting double-digit growth. Here's the breakdown. Passenger vehicle sales grew 15%, three-wheeler sales rose 42% and two-wheeler sales jumped more than 20% on an annual basis. Strong numbers coming in there for the auto sector. India's gross direct tax collections till the 9th of November have come in at 12.37 lakh crore rupees, and that's a growth of close to 18% on a yearly basis. Personal income tax revenue jumping nearly 32%. Meanwhile, corporate tax mop-up has increased 12.5% year on year. So good news there coming in for the government on the tax front. The insurance regulator has formed a task force to suggest guidelines once general insurers are given the freedom to determine tariffs for some segments. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 the third-party motor, fire and engineering insurance segments could be allowed to set their own tariffs. Yash is standing by now to take us through the details. Yash, take us through what is being proposed.
Well, Shirin, as you very correctly pointed out, there are still certain segments of general insurance industry where the premium pricing is still regulated either by the regulator, that is IRDAI, or the ministry or the respective ministry. And what the insurance regulator has done is that it has formed a task force which will have the responsibility of de-notifying and de-tariffing the premium pricing as far as these segments are concerned. Of course, there's representation from the entire general insurance industry when it comes to this particular task force, and the recommendations as far as the regulations on a post-de-tarifying scenario is concerned, that will be the responsibility of this particular task force as far as suggestions are concerned. What we've been given to understand from our sources is three important and large segments like motor third party, fire as well as accident is expected to be considered when it comes to de-tarification. Of course, these form a significant portion of the industry, and just to give you certain numbers, like motor, for example, comprises of 12% of the industry premium, also 40% of the entire motor insurance premium. Fire comprises of 10% of the industry premium. Engineering comprises of 2%. So, of course, once the power to price the premium is given to insurance companies, a lot of analysts we spoke to, a lot of industry people, stakeholders we spoke to, they expect the premiums to go up once this actually comes into force.
All right, Yash, many thanks for joining us. Now, gold is glittering on Dhanteras. Prices have risen a whopping 21% from last Dhanteras to this one. Today, the yellow metal has seen brisk buying after recovery in consumer demand. Remember, prices had softened ahead of Dhanteras. We leave you with visuals of pre-Diwali buying of gold and silver across India, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Response has been really good. I mean, compared to last year, the gold prices have increased by 20%. But we're still seeing people who've come here to buy gold, especially small bullions and small tokens of gold.
मैं अपनी मदर के लिए लेने आई हूँ बैंगल्स, और क्योंकि मैं हमारे घर में शादी है और आज के दिन बैंगल्स मतलब सोना चांदी लेना बहुत शुभ माना जाता है.
पिछले साल के मुकाबले सोना 2000 रुपये तोला महंगा, कोई खास बात नहीं है. इसको खरीदना है. जिसको 2 लाख के खरीदने वो 2.25 लाख के खरीद लेगा. मेरे ख्याल में सोने का रेट का कोई इफेक्ट दुकान पर नहीं है और ना पड़ना चाहिए.
Now, the Israel-Hamas war continues to rage on. Palestine has claimed that Israeli forces have struck hospitals in Gaza City as the military pushes deeper into Gaza. The IDF has accused Hamas fighters of hiding in hospitals. However, the claims have been denied by the militant group and the hospital staff. Israeli military also struck West Bank during a daytime raid, killing nearly 20 Palestinians. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu has clarified that the country is not seeking to conquer, occupy or govern Gaza, but asserted that a credible force was needed inside the territory to prevent the re-emergence of militant threats. Thousands of Palestinians have fled to South Gaza through a corridor announced by the Israeli military. The U.S. government has confirmed that Israel has agreed to a daily 4-hour humanitarian pause to allow civilians to flee from northern Gaza. U.S. President Biden has said there is no possibility of a ceasefire in Gaza, saying that the U.S. government will not stop until all hostages are brought back. Well, the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal has given relief to BBC World in a transfer pricing case. The Income Tax Department had alleged non-compliance by BBC on transfer pricing rules and diversion of profits. Timsy joins us now to take us through the details. Timsy, take us through the background of the case and the Appellate Tribunal's observations. Significant relief coming in for BBC World.
Yes, as you rightly said, this is a significant relief coming in for BBC. The Appellate Tribunal, to be fair, has clearly mentioned that they have dismissed the plea of the IT department and they have ruled in favor of BBC. They say that the transfer pricing case that has been leveled against BBC, let me first read out what exactly it says, that ITAT has confirmed that the findings that foreign exchange loss is non-operating in nature and therefore forex fluctuation loss and interest expense has to be excluded while calculating the PLI of assessee. Thus, relying also on a previous judgment that BBC has presented where Mumbai Appellate Tribunal had ruled in favor of DHL. And that is exactly the point under which BBC has got this relief. Let's see what exactly IT department does, because what sources are indicating that IT department might appeal against ITAT's rule or the relief that has come in. But clearly mentioning that, yes, right now, ITAT has given a relief to BBC and they say that these expenses need to be excluded, which IT department was claiming that they need to be included in the return filing.
All right, Timsy, many thanks for joining us. That's Timsy Jaipuria there with the news that has just broken, relief coming in for BBC World. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues. Here's wishing all our viewers a very happy Dhanteras and a very happy Diwali.